Hello, welcome to my video essay for my individual project titled Examining the Application of Digital and Artificial Intelligence Technologies Towards Assessment Preparation and Design, Evidence from Non-Marketing and International Postgraduate Students. So these are the learning outcomes that will be addressed in today's video essay, which will be examined against samples of a digital marketing assessment that was submitted by non-international marketing students, from which we will examine how digital and artificial intelligence technologies can be integrated to enhance the coherence between international students' preparation in addressing assessment criteria and multi-model assessment formats. Digital marketing assessments arguably align with a performance-based orientation, which requires demonstration of skills and allows students to build a university and professional identity. Now, for context, my master level digital marketing module recently had over 70% of students that did not major in marketing, and most of them were of international visa status holding. From observation, these students come with less marketing related preparation that will enable them to effectively integrate or identify with my module. Thus, authenticity of learning for these students may feel forced and deeper thinking level towards the subject may be quite restricted. Students who think they do not have any marketing knowledge risk generating AI assessment outputs that may be perceived as unreasoned or unjustified. Thus, we must consider how to incorporate AI into assessments to address these issues whilst improving inclusivity and support for student learning journeys. So London Metropolitan University currently has a policy of education for social justice. Now, these outline principles concerning the importance of drawing on students' equity to support their assessment, as well as how the institution enables this, which is further established with consideration of the design and methods of assessment and feedback offered to enable students to take further action. Specifically, the principles of assessment accessibility is extremely relevant to AI, given its ability to enable various forms of multimodal assessment formats. So AI facilitates the presence of pedagogies of learning processes that echo principles offered by ESG. Digital and AI enables work to be adapted. This increases the need to provide recursive and actionable feedback to allow students to reflect from their first attempts and apply revisions based on prospective and constructive feedback. So AI facilitates the learning by action, which requires students to make note of the process that they took to make their digital artifacts as well as the overall output, which can further establish authentic learning, leading to complex and epistemic performances rather than passive and surface level knowledge development. Any output becomes digital evidence of the student's progress, which can be developed further with interactions with their peers and tutors, enabling more reflexive pedagogy applications and customized learning pathways. Additionally, students can visibly display their diverse productivity, perspectives, and thinking in an equitable manner, which is a process that occurs throughout the module and not just towards the end of the assessment submission. So the Quality Assurance Agency presents two ways of which AI is applied to assessments. The hybrid approach is the practice of using content that is generated by AI using software that is provided by university policies and allowing students to incorporate it as part of their work. This includes using the software to create images or other media content for assessment components. The design integration approach allows students to learn how to use AI for productive tasks and evaluate the overall usefulness. Both of these approaches align with the principles of ESG framework regarding inclusivity and accountability, but for the purpose of this project, I'll be focusing on the hybrid submission to address learning outcome 2, but I will revisit the design integration practice under learning outcome 5. So the task I set was a group presentation with speaker notes. Now the assessment is called a presentation under the module policy. However, I advised that students had the choice on how they presented their information. Originally, the group presentation only required a digital audit of existing information of a company's online performance. But my prior experience with the module, students needed more opportunities to develop content that pushed them beyond searching and summarizing data and to help them prepare for their campaign ideas for their assessment too. Hence, I incorporated the component to create a piece of content or a digital artifact that would push their cognitive thinking and creativity in response to a digital audit and encourage more actionable assessment outputs, which they could apply later towards their peer review and self-reflections. Now, the AI comes into play through the exact tasks that students would complete as part of their group assignment. Firstly, companies use AI software agencies to assist in identifying online marketing performances, which not only authenticates the usage of AI for the first two group assessment components, but directly provides the content and experience to use the AI systems with a real-time marketing application. The same practice applies to the campaign message and content component. Companies must have been known to use AI to generate digital advertisement, content, and material. And London Metropolitan offers systems like Adobe Firefly that have generative AI image systems to reflect this practice. So the assessment component of developing a digital audit and competitor analysis was practiced in class so students could develop analytical skills with the findings they collected and obtain early feedback on the results and insights they developed from the digital audit practices and to prepare them for their final summative assessments. The usage of AI reduced the level of searching and collection of data and increased the students' attention towards summarizing the data to visualize their brand's digital performance. We allowed the students to select the information they deemed appropriate to analyze, as digital marketing audits involve a wide range of digital channels and practices, and each company benefits from some tactics over others. To maintain the rigor of focus, I advised students that the research they collected needed to support the next component, which was the content and message for their intended campaigns. So these are samples taken from the submissions made by non-marketing degree students. These reflect a mixed range of generative AI application. Some took on a more manual graphic creation and editing approach, whilst others applied generative AI to develop their content. The focus was not placed on the content quality, but the clarity of an intended message and action desired by the audience. From an ESG perspective, the idea was to allow students the opportunity to be expressive with their ideas that were inspired by their vision of the selective brand's online image and their channels, and the insights they collected from their digital audit research. The work students produced was subject to a formative assessment examination under week 8. So rather than waiting for the final deadline, I asked students to showcase what they had developed. The purpose of this was so myself and my teaching team could get a cognitive understanding on how students applied the research and tools offered to help generate their assessment outputs. Likewise, students had the opportunity to display their cognitive reasoning as well as their learner identity and assessment outproof. It facilitated a dialogue between students and teachers where we were able to identify gaps between the digital audit research and the digital artifact content that they had created, so they could adjust these according to our constructive feedback. The assessment component included a reflective piece. With the application of AI and flexibility of the assessment, learners gained more direct action and output to increase their reflective autonomy. The overall assessment aimed to accommodate students with little or no experience with marketing by allowing them to use AI systems to enable them greater awareness and perceptions of digital marketing and increase their motivation to self-reflect on specific outcomes. So AI can be beneficial for learners, particularly on visualizing their learning and deeper thinking development. But we must remember AI's limitation. It can reduce learners' motivation to become contributors for creative and critical thinking. So we need to ensure that we build that independent thinking to prepare them for their assessment. This means upholding the co-authorship between human and AI systems. So we must also caution to ensure that learners do not lose their autonomy over their learning and becoming too reliant on AI as a guarantee for assessment passing. Referring back to the integrate generative AI by design, this can be easily integrated to get students to critically evaluate the impact of AI on digital marketing, followed which I can get them to critically reflect on its overall effectiveness. This could be integrated as a formative assessment that will give students more cognitive and direct experiences that could guide them to prepare and develop practice-based assessments. It's important for students to learn how to effectively prompt insights from AI, but likewise, they need to develop digital marketing related skills. So any output developed from this approach can be treated as a starting point, which will allow students to make adaptable changes for their summative assessments. To conclude, I feel that the hybrid approach is still necessary to apply for summative assessments. As much as I feel that AI is important, students' awareness of their contribution and their knowledge and skills they establish in their learning journey with and without assistance of AI is vitally important. So for future thinking and practice, I take insights from Ross et al., who suggest the need to support and educate students on multimodal options and assist them evaluating whether their selected modes meet the criteria for both final artifact outputs and address the learning outcomes that they need to address for their assessment. That's it. Thank you for listening to my video essay.